Hey everyone, Carolina Venom here. Today I'm taking a look at the ZTE Reef. This phone is from Virgin Mobile. This is model number N810. And I'm going to take you around the phone, give you the specs, tell you what I think about it, pros and cons, run some tests, and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. This phone is running Android 4.1.2. It is IP7 certified for water resistance. It has a 4-inch display with 800 by 480 pixels at 233 ppi. It does have a 5 megapixel camera on the rear with LED flash, and it records up to 720p HD, and it also has a front facing camera. This phone is running a 1 GHz single core Snapdragon S2 processor with 1 GB of RAM with 4 gigs of built-in storage with around 2.2 gigs available to user, and it will hold up to a 32 GB micro SD card. It's got a 1650 mAh battery with around 9 hours of talk time and an estimated 7 days of standby time. This is a 3G device, and we're going to go around the phone. Like I said, it's your front-facing camera, your ear speaker here, your menu, home and back button. On the side, your micro USB charging port is covered. Up here is your volume rocker, up and down. Your headset jack on top, which is not covered, and there is your power button and your dedicated camera key on this side. Your single rear speaker battery is removable, and under here you will find also the micro SD card slot and your camera, of course, and your flash. I'm not going to be very long-winded with this review. This phone really does not have much to offer, to be honest with you. This phone retails for around $100. You can find it on sale sometimes for cheaper than that, but around $100 what you're going to pay for this phone. And I'm going to be honest with you, I wouldn't pay $20 for this phone. I think it's just a worthless phone in general, and I will explain why here in a minute after I run some benchmark tests on this phone. And actually what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be comparing the benchmark tests with the half-priced ZTE Awe, which is the model number N800, which is you can get for around $40–50 right now, brand new. And it's basically the same phone, other than it being this phone is not water resistant. So when I do the test, I'm going to be comparing it with that phone. You know, $100 for this phone, $40–50 for the Awe, and I gotta say there's a humongous difference in the quality of these two phones. Go ahead and turn the phone on. The brightness is on 50%, and of course the screen looks brighter on camera than it actually does looking at the screen. The screen is very dull looking. It has kind of a dull tinted color look, and it just really don't look very good. Phone does have some noticeable lag to it. It's just not very smooth. It is smooth when you're scrolling. This is very stock. There's nothing on it but just a couple of little apps, and it's bone stock. So if you was to load it up with apps and games, I would expect you will see a very major decline in the way it functions. The messaging app and all, it's basically what all you see on any phone. The ZTE phones, you know, basically all about the same. But it's just a bad phone. I mean, it's just not good. I could tell when I turned it on and started using it that it's not good. I mean, if I had to list some pros to this phone, it would be, you know, it has pretty good call quality. Speaker quality is pretty good as well, and you know, it does take some pretty nice pictures for what it is. You know, it's not no high-end camera by no means, but it does do decent for them, you know, spur of the moment shots. And it does record in 720. But like I say, you know, for $40–50 you can buy the Awe that does the same thing, and it works a whole lot better. But like I said, I'm not going to spend much time here on this phone because pretty much, I've done told you about the phone. It's just no good, and it's not recommended at all. So right now, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and run a benchmark test between these two phones, and even the screen difference on the Awe versus the Reef is a whole lot clearer on the Awe than on the Reef. It's got a tint to it. It don't look very great. This has got more of a clear look to it. But right now, we're going to go ahead and run some tests on these two phones. And like I say, both of them are 4-inch displays, same specs. This has got a 1.2 gigahertz dual core processor. Well, this is running only a 1 gigahertz single core, so of course it's going to be a whole lot slower than the ZTE Awe. And you know, and like I said, I'm really surprised that they have not discontinued the Reef already, because this phone is very poor. To be honest with you, I'm really not. I mean, other than the Huawei Prism 2, I've not really seen a worse phone so far. You know, this newer than this phone right here. I mean, it's just a bad phone in general. Yeah, we know the battery's gonna go dead. So. But you know, it's just a major difference between these two phones. You know, as far as reliability, I mean, as far as the speed goes and the smoothness, I can tell this phone here got, you know, like I said, has some choppiness to it. It's got some lag to it. I doubt it will play games very well. It probably will be very sluggish, you know. And the ZTE Awe is really smooth as butter. Like I said before, it's a very smooth phone for what it is. I'm really surprised that you can buy these phones now as cheap as you can buy. I know Radio Shack recently had them on sale for like $40, and that is a awesome price for this phone if you're looking for a lower end 3G phone that has some decent specs to it. But whenever they're selling the Reef for around $100, and I'm guessing because it's water resistant, I don't ever test nothing in water. I don't care how resistant it says it is. The only phone I ever reviewed in water, or I ever used in water, was the Casio GS1 Boulder on Verizon, old flip phone they used to have, and it worked pretty good in underwater. But these phones like this here that says they're water resistance, I really wouldn't bank on that too awful much. But especially whenever you have ports that's not completely closed, like the headset jack. So anyway, I was waiting on these here to finish up, trying to find things to talk about, but just notice the smoothness of these two phones, the differences whenever they're both doing their test. As you see, the Awe is pretty smooth. It's not really got any lag, really any glitches in it. It's very smooth, as you can tell, for a low-end device. Over here on the Reef, you can tell that there was some choppiness in this little segment here. This phone is just very slow. You can really tell it here. As you see, it's very choppy, and it just looks terrible. I mean, it's just not running smooth at all. And it's just amazing the difference in the quality of these two phones. I mean, they're so similar, but yet their processors and the speed of the phones are just so far apart that it's not even funny. So I really don't understand why they didn't have at least the same specs on the Reef as they did, and I don't know why it closed, but it closed. Hope it. Okay, you see here it came in at 5,496, which it rated a poor device. And over here, this one came in at 13,891, which is actually a little bit lower than it usually runs. The last time I ran it is around 14,500. So that's, 14,500. That's a pretty good speed. 13.8 is what it's running right now, which is good, and it does do a pretty good job. It looks like a ZTE N800 and a ZTE N810, and look at the difference. I mean, it's just a big difference in the speed of the phones. And I actually did a quadrant as well earlier, and it should still be on there. Maybe we'll check it and see, to give you an idea of what the speeds were. And on this phone here, it was at the very bottom at 1711, which that's awful. I mean, that really is awful. And on the Awe, we was coming in at 4,824. So a big difference from top to bottom, on these two devices. So honestly, to wrap it up, I mean, the ZTE Reef, has water resistance, records up to 720. Takes fairly decent pictures, good call quality. Reception's on par with about every other Virgin Mobile phone, and but other than that, this is a really bad phone. I do not recommend it to anybody. Like I said, I will go with the Awe way before the Reef, because this is just way too expensive for a phone that's just subpar, and I don't like it. And I'm definitely not going to keep this phone at all whatsoever, because I don't need it, because I don't have Virgin Mobile anymore right now. So this phone is useless to me anyway, even if I had it, because it's just an awful device in general. So any questions or comments, feel free to ask me. I'll do my best to answer them. Subscribe to my channel. I sure would appreciate it. Really a bad phone. I mean, I don't normally say that about phones as much, but this one right here is bad. So anyhow, I'm gonna get out of here. Y'all have a good one, and we'll talk at you later.